And you are aware that at the time of the event, or after the event, she indicated that a voice told her that she needed to kill the kids so that she could kill herself.
Yes.
And this was the same day that she then attempted to kill herself.
Correct.
Now, on the day of January 24th, 2023, you are aware that the defendant had reported that, for all intents and purposes, earlier in the day was a good day.
There are reports that earlier in the day was a good day.
And is the fact that she reported good feelings consistent with the suicidality or inconsistent?
I apologize. Did he say that she said she had a good day or someone else did? I just didn't hear that.
Yeah, if you could maybe kind of bring that out, what that source is.
Well, as far as the reports of it being a good day, when you spoke with her, did she describe the events earlier in the day as a good day? Playing with the kids, that kind of thing?
She described the day as being a fun and productive day.
And you're aware that others reported, including her husband Patrick, that earlier that day it appeared to have been a good day.
Right. So one example is when Patrick was talking to the Child Welfare Agency that evening, I believe, he said that was the best day she had had in a long time.
Okay. So,
or something to that effect.
The fact that there were reports of it being a good day, is that inconsistent or consistent with the idea of the attempted suicide? It's
not inconsistent with suicide. It's also not inconsistent with the depressive disorder that she had. Much of the time, depression, major depressive episodes start to recover after around 3 or 4 months. It also is in my own view in psychiatry, and I believe others, an awareness that as a person is beginning to recover from the worst of their depression, sometimes suicides do happen when the person starts developing a little bit more energy and ability to act on their interests.
So in your experience, do people sometimes display those positive feelings immediately prior to either an attempt or a suicide?
Yes, that is something that does happen in my experience. While they're still very depressed, but they begin to be on the trajectory towards relative improvement.
Okay. Now, just going back for a quick second, you had talked a little bit about hallucinations, and you described different types of hallucinations, meaning things that you can taste or hear or see, right?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the what's called command hallucinations?
Yes.
And what are those?
Command auditory hallucinations are a type of hallucination where you're hearing something and it is telling you of an expectation for you to do.
And are those things usually persistent?
It can be. It can vary sometimes. It can be persistent. Other times it can be sporadic.
Going to your conversation with the defendant on, about the events of January 24th, 2023, you, in your interview with her, were able to speak with her about her recollection of that day, correct?
Yes.
And one of the things that was done in that interview was that she was explaining what happened in chronological order, right? From the beginning of the day to the last thing she could remember.
That's correct.
Did she also tell it to you in reverse?
She was asked to recite it in reverse, yes.
And did she tell the same story forwards and backwards?
Yes.
Was she able to recall details of some parts of the day but not others?
Yes, I would say that's correct.
And did she describe to you when she heard this voice?
Her experience that is called a voice occurred in the late afternoon.
Do you recall what she reported about the voice?
Her experience was that the voice was of a male and it was loud.
And what did the voice say?
The voice said to the effect of, "You should kill the kids This is your last chance so that you can kill yourself.
And what did she say happened after she heard this voice?
She engaged in the activity of taking her children's lives.
And she was able to describe to you how she did that, correct? And she first stated that she took Dawson down to the basement
Yes.
and then wrapped the exercise band around his neck and strangled him.
Yes.
And what did she say that she said when she did that?
She described that while that was happening, she was saying out loud, "Go to God."
And did she describe the same for both Cora and then Callan?
Essentially, yes.
And the voice that she said she heard, was it one time or more than one time she heard the voice?
Multiple times is what she described.
And after she had killed the kids, did the voice continue in her report?
I don't remember that it did. It may have, I don't remember.
And then after the kids were gone, she then made an effort to take her own life, correct? And how did she do that?
Right, so she did. She described that she went ahead to take her life or attempt to take her life with multiple steps. She went to her room upstairs in the house and took the various medications that were present. She cut at her wrists and at her neck, and then she caused herself to fall from the window.
Okay, and as far as going out the window, did she tell you whether she had to do anything with the screen?
She described to me that she cut the screen.
Okay, and then she dove out the window.
Well, objection, that's not what he said.
Well, what did she do after she cut the screen?
She fell from the window.
Did you ask her, or was there conversation about the phone call that she received from Patrick?
There was.
And was she able to clearly identify when the call came from Patrick?
I don't exactly recall exactly when, but it was sometime in the around 18 to 20 minutes that this was happening that she received that call.
Do you recall if part of the conversation about the timeline of events, whether the voice came as soon as Patrick left the house or before or after the phone call?
My recollection is that it happened as soon as Patrick had left.
Now, were there some things in what she was telling you about the events that was different from what you reviewed from other information in this case?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm just asking if you recall that there were things in the version that she told you in your interview that were different or not consistent with the information you knew about the case.
Well, two things come to mind. One is the locking or the closing of the bedroom door, and the other is the cutting of the screen of the window.
Okay, and as far as the locking or closing of the bedroom door, do you recall what she told you about that?
She denied that she had done that.
And so from the information you reviewed about reports from Patrick and everything else, did you know that the door had been locked?
That was my understanding.
And the second thing that you indicated about the screen, what information did you have about the screen that was different from what she reported to you?
I believe there was a question as to whether the screen had been cut, perhaps with a sharp.
And as far as the going out the window piece of it, you were aware that she didn't have any head injury, correct?
Yes, I am.
That she had the spinal injuries, the C1 injury, but no injuries to her head.
Correct.
And as far as her report of taking medication or taking pills, did you know whether she took all the pills that she had in the house or?
Well, I'm not sure about the house. She described all the pills in her bedroom.
And were you aware that there were other pill bottles located in other parts of the house?
I'm not sure I knew that.
How about the phone call? She indicated that at the time of the phone call, she believed she had the baby in her hand and she was doing something like taking food out of the fridge or getting food ready for the kids. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And were you aware, do you recall seeing crime scene photos that show that the kids' bowls were in the living room?
Yes.
And that Patrick later reported that he had seen Dawson eating green beans and chicken nuggets before he left the house? Were you aware of that? So, Dr. Mack, based on your review of this case, were you able to come to an opinion to a degree of medical certainty about whether this defendant was suffering from a mental disease or defect on January 24th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
And what is that opinion?
That, yes, she was suffering from a mental disease or defect, namely major depressive episode as a part of major depressive disorder.
And as far as the substantial capacity to appreciate wrongfulness or criminality of conduct, were you able to come to an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty about that?
Yes.
And what's your opinion regarding that?
That she had retained that capacity.
And what information do you rely upon to come to that conclusion?
The first point is that this was a continuation. Her mental state at that time was a continuation of the mental state she had had for months. And it was a mental state that included the capacity to control her behavior and also to be able to conform her conduct to standards of law. So in that sense, first of all, there's not an indication to me that there was something that changed the overall capacity in that regard. Secondly, to the extent we are talking about the ability to conform her conduct to the law, one can analyze her actions and her behaviors and her thoughts on that day, or as close as possible, to the moments of the deaths. And that includes taking one of her children to a pediatrician that day, engaging in fun activities around the house that day, having engaged with one of her children's teachers the day before, having engaged in normal conversations with the restaurant that she ordered food from, 3V, and then also interactions with the pharmacy, CVS, where she was getting the Miralax from. So in all these places, there was the ability to act normally. There doesn't seem to be any deviation from where she had been all along, which included this capacity. Furthermore, I would add that as a part of her interactions with the community or in driving, she had abided by law and abided by standards of the community at all those times. So there isn't necessarily, to me, any way in which that deviated that afternoon.
So you're speaking about her ability to conform conduct, which is one of the things we're talking about here. But I want to go back to the appreciation for wrongfulness or criminality. As far as that goes, were you able to form an opinion about that?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's
yes.
Okay. So what's your opinion about her ability to substantially conform, or excuse me, her substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of her conduct?
So I again would go to thinking about what had been her state of mind for at least the month prior, the several months prior, and in all that time, there wasn't any feature that indicated that she didn't have that capacity. But furthermore, when there were moments when she thought about harming the children, when she had the thoughts about that, she was aware in those moments beforehand that was wrong or against the law, and that she could be punished for such an action.
You're referring to the December conversation with her husband and her mom?
Yes, and her thoughts about the idea that if anyone knew what I was thinking, the children might be taken away from me.
And also, did the fact that she hadn't had any significant medication changes during that time period. Does that also inform your opinion about that?
Well, as that aligns with what I was saying before about how, while depressed, her mental state was relatively stable. It was perhaps improving. I'm not sure about that, but it was stable.
Move to strike that. He's not sure about it.
All right. That answer is stricken. All right.
So the fact that she hadn't undergone any more significant medical or medication changes, I should say, did that signify to you that she had been in the same kind of state she had in the months before?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about the interaction with Dr. Tufts on January 23rd? Did anything about that suggest that there were any concerns or distress that would have changed her ability to appreciate wrongfulness of her conduct?
No. In that interaction, she displayed normal thinking and the ability to think ahead and to navigate the world.
And what about the statements that she referred to when she was killing the kids, the go to God? Does that inform your opinion?
It does.
And why?
My understanding is that the sentiment go to God is a way of bestowing or thinking about the children as innocents. And as ones who hadn't done wrong, while what she was doing was the opposite, was wrong, or could be construed as wrong. And so go to God not only was a hope for the children, but also a description of the situation.
Okay. And what about the report from her that the voice was telling her, this is your last chance? Is that significant to identify whether she would have had some knowledge or known that it was something that was wrong?
Well, to the extent that it was seen as her last chance, yes, because there was an awareness that it was something that would be disallowed by their father.
And as far as after the incident, when she woke up at the Brigham and Women Hospital, you're aware that she had reported to the staff there that she was horrified, correct?
Yes.
And so the fact that she immediately afterwards identified that she was horrified, does that go to her capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct?
Yes. One can consider that her mental state, once she was removed from the dexmedetomidine, was similar to what it had been on January 24th. And in that regard, the feeling of horror, the feeling of shame that comes from being horrified indicates that she was aware that it had been the wrong thing to do.
And then finally, just to go back to the substantial capacity to conform conduct, you've told us a little bit about that, about the fact that her condition hadn't really changed all that much. You outlined what she did that day. But is there anything else to consider, based on everything that you reviewed, that would indicate to you that she did maintain the substantial capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
I think that in the household, she was engaging this activity methodically, which highlights to me that there was an ability to conform her behavior to expectations of living in a household.
What do you mean methodically?
As I understand the deaths, they were done methodically, and I think you asked me about that earlier, one by one, in a way that was organized and that was intended to achieve a particular goal. Similarly, her attempt at suicide was organized and thoughtful in a sense that it included as many possible methods as possible.
And as far as the killings of the children methodically, did she report to you in any way that she was given direction by this voice on how to complete the act and what exactly to do?
No, she did not.
And what about the call with Patrick, is there anything about that that indicates that she maintained some control or the ability to control herself where she did engage in a short conversation with him?
Well, that aligns with what we were talking about before in terms of being aware that he would disapprove or disallow this, and yet she didn't say anything. She didn't say help, or she didn't say, I'm having these thoughts, so it wasn't stated.
So again, as far as your overall evaluation of this defendant, Lindsay Clancy, regarding the events of January 24th, 2023, what ultimately is your opinion to a degree of medical certainty regarding criminal responsibility?
My opinion is that she retained the capacities that were required for having criminal responsibility for these actions.
Thank you.